King Dollar Warriors. Hi, everyone. Is it King for a week? For 3 days? We'll see. Okay. Hi, Ingmar. How are you? Steve and AJ and Ryan. Same to you, Ryan. K-Man, Michael. How you doing, Bran? Timothy? Hello there. Trading work. All right. Well, you contact the company.
Yeah, I've already given that advice. He popped up on the Flow show. If he's going to spam
Yeah.
the webinars, Dale, then I'll block him.
Yeah. Okay. Why don't you block them? And Natane Moraes, your new name. So welcome to F.A.C.E. This might be your best trade you ever made, finding this place, in my extremely accurate and humble opinion. Okay, let's get to work. So, I was looking at my screen yesterday afternoon. Blake told me to watch the U.S. Mexico soccer game.
Oh, it was a
And
heartbreak.
yeah, anyway, I noticed this candle. All right. And went with it. And I know you think over 19 is a big deal, but I mean, the divergence was just so glaring on almost every time frame, even really short-term stuff. Look at that. And so anyway, went with it, we'll see what it has left in it. Uh, Recommitted to Canada last night around 36, took half already, and gold taking it on the chin. And I think this is the most important part of what's happening here in metals today. I know it's only one day, but if you pull up a daily on silver, it looks pretty ugly. Again, you know, tested these highs. Actually, I think we had a stop hunt here. The high here was 722. No, didn't even take out those highs. Anyway, looks like 34 and a half, back to the breakout could be incoming. And we know gold's been weaker than silver for a while, as expressed by the gold silver ratio. But we're getting a major reversal here. It looked like it was going to break down. It gapped lower last night. And, I learned a lot from our guests too. And one of the guests that we had, Zach Manis, talked about the gold silver ratio possibly taking one more trip up towards one more high, which is really going to pressure silver if that happens while gold's on its way up back under 3,000. So, you may want to trim some of your bullish positions in silver. You still have, great profits if you bought it over the last month. So now I'm going to go to Ryan. So Ryan, is this a pullback to buy in Euro USD right here, or are you waiting for 116?
The magic question, and good morning, mate.
Good morning, buddy.
Yeah, we were trying to go through this on the Flow show this morning. I think you've got to take this week as its own event. So trade it for what it gives you, because we've got all this trade stuff going through, deadlines and
Right.
who's going to get what and wherefore. So does that mean that everything's going to be fine and the dollar's going to recover? Yeah, it could do. Could go 116, could go 115, could go 114, depending on the news. Does it mean that the trend is over though, and we're still not heading up towards 120? That's a definition that you've got to make this week. Trade news is going to be one thing. Is it good for the US? Is it good for Europe? Judge it from that, and then is it going to change the trend? But you can't. Everyone that's been rushing out the dollars isn't going to just change their minds on Wednesday. They're not going to go, oh, we've flooded out of US bonds into European bonds and we're going to reverse all that in 5 minutes.
Yeah, that
It's
takes
not going to
time.
happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So on balance, you would think whatever happens this week, we're going to get back on trend afterwards if the market hasn't changed its mind about whether it wants to put money into the US. Or conversely, things could go wrong for the US again, and we could be 120 in a flash anyway. So yeah.
So you know what? Partials are never more important than in a week like this. And so if you initiated dollar positions, you should be taking some right now and eliminate all the risk in the trade to go to BE. I know BE sometimes it's just a money stop, but and it could come down and pick your stop off and then go again. But take the pressure off yourself. And that's a real good way to take all the pressure off. I just want to also point out that last week I kept saying I think the pain trade is higher yields with everyone looking for lower yields. And, this was just, the first day, but the fact that we're back above this breakdown in the 10-year, I think is significant. And I don't know what it's got in it to the upside. But I wouldn't be long notes with this kind of action because I still think the market's wrong-footed, even though they, changed their mind about after the employment report about the number of cuts. The consensus view is lower rates are coming.
Yeah.
So, so why not one more spike in rates just to, clean them out, and then maybe it happens. Same thing with the longer duration. I was talking about that we could have a breakdown in TLT. Looks that way to me. Okay, that's kind of an ugly chart. This was kind of an ugly rally. I know Greg was looking for lower rates first. I think maybe all the way down to 4% or so before rates could go back up. But, price is king, just like the dollar is today. So bonds look bad. They look bad. Are they going to put in a higher low? Yeah, that's possible. But you know what? What if we have some kind of rout here because of the big, beautiful bill or something on trade? And this low did confirm that was the Moody's low. Maybe we're going for it. And of course, the beat goes on here in the S&Ps. But this time at new highs, you can see every other time this was a confirmed high. This one matched it. Okay, so there was nothing. But a new high here, I don't think we're going to get over 70. So, be alert to that. And I want to come to K-Man. Thank you, Ryan.
Good morning, Dale.
Mate.
Good morning, everybody.
All right. Good morning, Kay. Your thoughts on the end following through on this recovery move?
Yeah, there's a couple of things going on there. First of all, Akazawa spoke to the US trade representatives, but didn't come back with a deal in his pocket to Japan.
What a spoiled guy.
Sorry?
What a spoiled guy.
Who?
Trump said the Japanese are spoiled.
Yeah, well, he should think twice.
Anyway.
The second thing was that the real wages are coming down quite significantly, the year-on-year number in Japan, and both those things are not very supportive for the yen. That's what is going on right now. So it puts the Bank of Japan still on the back foot. Can't really raise rates in such an environment unless we get a decent deal for Japan on those tariffs. Otherwise, yen could continue to weaken a little bit, in my opinion. Where can we go? Well, the dollar is doing better today, 146, 147. It's all possible, but we have to take it day by day because assume for 1 second that they get a deal. Not on the 9th. That seems impossible, but anywhere between the 9th and what Besant now said, the 1st of August, then the yen will probably strengthen again. This is now a relatively clear scenario, is that no deal is negative for Japan, at least not a deal where the US comes back on whatever threats they have sent in against Japan. So, but get a deal which would be relatively good for Japan. That is going to reverse the whole thing again. So that's where we are right now on the yen.
Do you really think that the administration is going to offer favorable terms when they use terms like that, they want too much, they're
No,
spoiled, are
yeah,
they going to be generous
I think
to Japan?
well, okay, what between what they are doing and what they should do, there's a it's seemingly 180 degrees diametrically opposed to each other. Because I think it should be really a shoe-in to give a good deal to your biggest investor in your country. But uh, yeah,
Yeah,
they're probably going to play hardball until the end. Japan has promised so much investment. I just can't see why and or what the US want to achieve by putting them on the spot. But yeah, this is how we trade, and this is what the market is going to trade. Yeah, you're showing on the bonds there. I think a lot of it is the big beautiful bill. But for rates, it's going to be not only the bill is going to be important, and we spoke about that on the flow show as well. It's the balance between what the US can get out of trade deals as additional income or additional investments in the US, and then what the big beautiful bill will cost, which will likely ultimately decide on what rates are going to do. And for now, since nothing is done on the trade, this bond move could actually continue a little bit.
okay. Or Japan could use their leverage here. And I know that, the administration got pretty pissed off when they were selling bonds a few months ago. Um, why should they hold treasuries under these conditions?
Because they have no yield in their own country, and there
The-
is
Not,
don't forget
not,
that they lost the Second World War, and a lot of rules and regulations have been put in place since then. I mean, it's pretty much historical. Recall
okay.
in the 90s where there was this stress about the car deal. Do you remember that one?
No, no.
Okay. I mean, I think it's somewhere 94-ish, 94, 95. And
Yeah,
there was a lot to do as well. And Japan got put back in their place because they have some rules in place even since then. But it's undeniable that the US is the biggest partner on all fronts, whether it be
yeah,
trade or even military
yes,
or the so I mean and really I think Japan is doing their part of the deal. It's just that your president wants more than what people can give.
yeah. Well, Canada was a great ally, and there's plenty, and they fought with us in wars, and
Mhm.
um, you know, pretty important trading partner too.
Yeah, but I think I mean, we we don't have to put it on a scale of like this is the historic a historic change, but it is. Let's not underestimate what's going on here on that trade, because it's the biggest tariffs in 70 years or whatever historically that are threatened now. It can really change the world of trade, and
Yeah,
that's why we shouldn't take anything lightly. And even a resolution of it should not be taken lightly, because if it comes with, as I said, big investments into the US, people building factories, people sending over a lot of goods which are going to be tariffed. We don't know at how much percent, but people giving jobs to American people, because don't forget that your government also doesn't like a certain immigration, but if it comes from another side, giving jobs is going to be extremely good for the US. But at the same time, the whole cart house can fall apart if he doesn't get those deals. So I think we should not underestimate the importance of the whole situation here. And I guess we will know over the next 3 weeks, or maybe give and take another month or two, where we are
or
at.
or by Christmas.
Or by Christmas, as Bessendon was already pushing back the deadline to the 1st of August. Maybe it's 1st of August 2026, you know.
What are your levels you're going to step back into silver?
Well, you know what? I've been extremely lucky because I had a partial take profit at 37.20 and I've been done. Um, So I've already bought like a small piece back, but the one thing, and you're exactly on the right chart there. Look at all those little spikes down to 35 and a half. They've been
Yeah,
hoovered up instantly.
yeah,
And that's an area where I'm going to look. For me, the break level is anywhere 38, 34.85, 35.15 is a very, very big zone on my picture. Um, I want to the rest of what I've let go, I want to get it back before we even reach 35 and a half now. I think somewhere 35, 70, 80 or so. If I see it, I'll be a happy buyer again. Um, the bigger picture will again depend on what's going to happen. If it's good for trade, silver should be doing a lot better than gold. If things go for the worst, then perhaps your gold silver ratio will indeed do that last leg up to 100 and above, and before we reassess, it's going to depend on that.
yeah. So I mean, we were all, and I know I was talking about it topping up here, and that you should just
Mm,
exchange your
it
gold for
did.
silver. Yeah. So, but and I think that this would really catch a lot of people offside because
If it
people have
breaks down,
really, yeah, if it turns up,
yeah.
yeah,
If it turns
really,
up, yeah, you can't rule it out, because
no,
imagine that no trade deals, and then I'm not talking about the smaller countries, because there are going to be deals done because of those countries who have no choice, the smaller ones. But then you
right,
talk about the bigger blocks. If there is no deal done, gold, I think you could easily fly to new highs.
okay. Okay. So yeah, I mean, there's still people looking for new highs. I still
Hmm.
think we're going to see it under 3,000 before I'm buying
Oh,
it.
well,
But
it,
you
it
know, I've been wrong in
no,
gold.
no,
I'm
no. I
wrong.
mean,
I'm wrong all the
anything
time.
can happen, but we are just ahead of a very important period, I think, for
Yeah.
the next
Yeah.
move in gold. I mean, if we get good trade deals all around the globe, I mean, gold is back below three K. That's for sure.
Okay. Just like to see it's still a very crowded trade. I really don't hear anything from gold, if there's anyone bearish
Yeah, but
metals.
apart from the short-term players, there's a lot of longer-term players who are
Oh yeah.
not going to move out of their gold position before they see what they want to see on in the global picture. That price, I'm not going to say that price doesn't matter, because price always matters, but um, it's like euro, and we've been talking about that, as Ryan already said on the flow show as well. It's like the euro. We have seen a reallocation of dollars into euro, just to take that example, but it's being done by people who are not going to move out of the euro tomorrow,
Right.
unless they see something in the macro picture that makes them change their opinion.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, us short termers, yes, I mean, we can play both sides of the coin, but those longer termers, they are not there to buy at 117 and a quarter and sell at 117 three quarters, so to speak.
Yeah. So like the NOK looks like a head and shoulders with a breakout there. And actually, the dollar looks very much the same now, not on this chart, but on like the 4 hour, right? You know, we start closing over 97, looks like 98's viable. So, and don't forget Grega was here, that allowed for this kind of rally, and then still one more low after that. And I could see that happening, because, so far we have, two drives, right? We have one, call this two. And this bothers me. So, you know, we won't, if we make new lows after this rally, the market will be set up for glaring divergences. So Blake, you were sad about the game last night.
Of course.
Their defense, they were like playing near the goalie.
Dude, they controlled Mexico controlled the game like
Yeah.
70% of the time. I mean, it was we were missing a lot of key players. It was a big, chat. But I mean they did pretty well. And I think this is it shows you like what kind of team the US is going to have come the World Cup.
Defense.
So yeah, next year is going to be a pretty. I mean,
because they threw together the team only since June, right?
Yeah, and we were missing like Pulisic and a couple of, our goalkeeper was good anyway. But
your son, they were missing your son.
There we go.
On the roster.
The best part. Part. The guy who scored the winner for Mexico plays with my team, West Ham.
Oh, that's just fantastic, Brian.
Yeah, I'm glad. That's great.
I've been waiting all day to say that.
Well, anyway, it was a great game, and I'm happy for Mexico. That's always a really big rivalry over here is Mexico US, so it's good stuff. Hey, real quick, before we continue on and talk a little bit more about the dollar and what we got going on this week, I do want to mention that today is the last day of the POP 30, the sale, 30% off, instant funding, any type of one-step assessment you want to take, the funding programs. They're 30% off. We don't do that very often, so it's a really good way to take advantage of volatility, get involved in the Forex Analytix community. So make sure you check out the trader funding program and put in code POP30, and I'll put that in the chat box just so everybody can see that, get over to trader funding program. Today is the last day, and then I would assume the rest of the summer sales will be off. So anyway, I do want to talk a little bit about this dollar bounce, and to me, it seems like the dollar is, we're getting to that level where we got to start worrying about a potential squeeze. Like today we got a little bit of a bounce. The week ahead video I talked about, obviously the title was, is there going to be a dollar bounce? I mean, we know this is really big support. We've been talking about it every day here for the last few months, right, Dale? Yeah. And look, this just so everybody can see, we're pretty damn close to an ABCD completion. But when you start getting close to these types of moves, a lot of time they're so big that you oftentimes don't actually reach that target because there's so many people trying to step in front of it. And in this case, I mean, you think about the decline that we've seen in the dollar just over the last few months. I mean, from a percentage point of view, we've lost 10. Literally 16%.
Oh, wow.
Value. Yeah. I mean, that's just since February. So, is this a value place to be long dollars or short euros? I mean, Benedict in our chat room, he's a big harmonics guy, and I'm happy to say that he is somebody that I taught harmonic patterns years ago. Like I'm talking like 15 years ago, but he's really taken it to the next level, and he looks at a lot of different and he chats about this in the chat room. He looks at different things, and we look at the same thing, but he looks even like he criticizes levels, even scrutinizes them a little bit more than myself. And he was looking at the harmonic actually completing right here at the 78% retracement of this move, which in theory could actually mean that we did hit some pretty critical resistance without hitting that 120 level in the euro. So I'm not sure if this is it or we actually make it to 120 or not. But I do think that the euro is at some pretty critical levels. I'm not. I've been in the camp that the euro is going to eventually break through 120. We're going to go a lot higher. But as I said on the week ahead video, I don't know if this is just one-way traffic. You know, we have to start being considerate of things getting really overbought or oversold. And I think this is going to be a fairly critical week for the dollar. Now, everybody was looking at July 9th, which is on Wednesday for all these trade deals to get done. There's going to be a lot of tariffs are going to be in the spotlight this week, but the goalposts have already been moved a little bit.
Yeah, to August.
Besson was just on CNBC, but talking about, hey, I'll do whatever Trump wants me to do, from Treasury Secretary to FOMC chair. He's basically saying I'll do whatever Trump wants. But really, he's also been talking about moving the goalpost out to beginning of August. So don't be surprised if a few trade deals get done here and there throughout the course of the week. But majority of things get pushed out, a few more weeks before August 1st. So I forget exactly what that comment was last night. Maybe Ryan, you remember what Besant said. I'd have to go back and scroll through. You read so many like headlines throughout the course of the day or in the morning, but you can. Do you remember what that comment was, Ryan?
Which one?
The one about August pushing trade.
Oh yeah, him and Lutnick both mentioning this August, the first date for this deadline's going to pass on Wednesday, but the tariffs won't come into play until August the 1st.
So, it's just, again, pushing things out, giving countries time to negotiate. They're still going to send out some tariff letters probably to people that they're not negotiating with right now, like people that just have, said, F you, we're going to, whatever. I'm sure it's going to be kind of tricky this week, I believe. But anyway, I do think that the dollar still has some room to move here and to squeeze. But the level that I'm looking for really in the dollar index is going to be right here. I mean, it is. Hold on, let's go get over to it. Right over here around 97.65. This is the level that you start breaking that. Now you're making higher highs, versus lower highs. There's a previous high. So once you start making higher highs, then you have to start being respectful of maybe a little bit longer term shift. Now, I don't think that the dollar is going to turn as a whole. I still think that the dollar has got a lot of downside left in it. But as you can see right now, even the euro is hitting new lows. I actually just sold the euro. If you guys are in the Forex Analytics chat room, you can see I just sold it at 117.28, literally 8 minutes ago. So if you guys want to know exactly when I'm getting long or getting short, or when, other traders are, or when K-Man and Ryan are placing their trades, what they're doing, look, jump in the Forex Analytics chat room. One of the best ways to get involved in that is you can be in the trader funding program. You can actually know that I was just shorting the euro, 8 minutes ago. So just a little bit of a hat tip to what we do in the community and all the other traders that are posting all of their trades. And why not be in a community where what other people are doing and you can talk to them about it as well. Ryan, do you think there's any more juice left in this dollar bounce that we're seeing today, or do you think this is a one-day affair?
Oh no, I think this has got the potential to last all this week, particularly up to this deadline, because we're going to be getting truth bombs dropping every 5 minutes. Trump's going to be threatening, playing bad cop, while all his other cronies try and play good cop. We know there's a ton of deals in the pipeline. India, that was one of the ones that was set to be announced, but they hit some roadblocks. So there's lots and lots of stuff going on. But we really only need to focus on the big ones. Europe, China, Japan, I think is potentially going to be the biggest price mover out the lot, because it has implications potentially for monetary policy and everything over there compared to Europe.
Yeah.
As I said at the beginning of the show and on the Flow show, you've got to take this event as a one-off thing to trade, okay, and then look to see whether it changes the bigger picture, like you say, whether the dollar's selling's got any more juice going into it. So if you were buying euro dollar last week because you think it's going to 120 based on, you know, a move out of US assets, it's a different trade this week.
Yeah, it sure is. And this is, you know, I've been looking at this as a bull flag pattern. I'm like I said, I shorted some euro a few minutes ago. I don't plan on sticking around. I'll look to get out, you know, well ahead of this 106.35 level. But you know, even the bottom of the flag pattern here, I don't think I want to be on the short side. I'm trading both directions nowadays, but I'm staying flexible too. And you know, whenever I buy dollars, I'm doing it in much smaller size than I had been shorting dollars for the last several months. So, K-Man, I know we're going to wrap up the show here, and Dale's going to bring in his guest. But do you have any last minute thoughts for the day today?
No, the only thing is that as I said, I'm since last night again slightly short yen. I mean yen, the currency yen. But I think I'm on the wrong horse because I'm euro yen. But yeah,
Uh,
I think for as long as there's no deal, yen is going to remain on the defensive. But it's also when you're in a position like that, you have to be really mindful that headlines can drop any time at all, and the whole thing can be reversed soon. So my stops are relatively tight on everything I do in that direction.
sounds good. Thank you very much. And I do want to highlight really quick the dollar CAD. I mean, this is one of those that I want us to keep an eye on as we go into the end of the week, Dale, just because we have Canadian jobs. But it was looking so bearish into the end of the week. But notice how we've now created some pretty critical support and a higher low. And, you know, this could be actually viewed as a double bottom should we break out above, you know, the 138 level. And remember, with Canadian jobs later on this week, I mean, we could be testing, if not breaking this by the end of the week. So it's just something that I think everybody should keep an eye on since I mean, it's been bludgeoned, you know, basically the last few weeks or last few months, excuse me, the dollar CAD. I mean, we've come off since the high, since when the, you know, in the high 140s, we've come off basically 8% in the dollar against the Canadian. It's been a pretty hell of a move. So anyway, that's all I have for right now. You know, we'll see you guys in the chat room. We'll see you on the morning edge, and that comes up in about 45 minutes with Steve and I. So Dale, I'll pass it over to you because I know you've brought in a guest.
Okay, thank you, Blake and K-Man and Ryan. Nice way to start the week. You know, people are advised about what kind of environment we're in and should take it to heart. So this is what's coming soon. So
By the way, we announced our winner for the trader funding program in the newsletter. So we're giving away 2 trader funding programs this month. So put in your name, email address. If you're on the mailing list, you are automatically included in the sweepstakes. Ryan, the winner was who?
Donald Trump Jr.
No. Who was the winner, Ryan? Do you remember her name?
Lindsay was picked off the list. She came out in the draw. So our first winner for June.
Awesome. And remember, we're giving away 2 trader funding programs
And
this month. Put in
and
your
we're
name.
Opening on a lunar eclipse.
Yes, there we go.
Okay, so there we go.
There we go.
Oh, God, that is so groovy. That thing. All right, listen, team.
Webinar.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Look,
Coach.
the webinar's starting again. Okay. Let's say hello to Andrew O'Connell from
Hey, Andrew.
at Real Pristine Cap, trading champion last year in the U.S. Trading Championship. Andrew, how are you? Good to have you back.
Dale, my trading warrior brother. How are you? I'm doing great.
Good, man. So last time we talked, you were long Uber before it got real popular. I said I think it could trade into the low 90s for a third drive, and that's where we are. What are you doing with Uber now?
Yeah, if you take a look at Uber, it's actually back on my watch list for potentially another trade. And if you'd like, I can share my screen.
Yes, please.
Yeah, let me see. Let me go ahead and share. I'm gonna share screen one. Let me know when you can see that.
Okay. You have a good second quarter?
Yeah, so far so good.
Good.
Yeah, we'll
All
see
right.
what
So there it
happens.
is. You remember me talking about 92?
Yes, I remember
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. So there are
Yeah,
some
so
divergences here, but
so if
yeah.
we look at Uber, what I think is just excellent about this chart right now is if you zoom out to the weekly. So if you look on the weekly over here, this shaded area, this is the yearly value area. So this is where most of the trading in 2024 happened. And if
Yeah.
you look, we're trading above that yearly value area.
Right.
This orange line, that's an anchored VWAP from when we hit the lows a few months ago. And as you can see, we are breaking out into new high ground on that weekly structure. And
Yeah.
then if you look to the daily chart, the daily structure also looks really good because you can see we're consolidating right around those new highs.
Yeah.
And now the price action is really tightening. And this is a good spot where you could potentially take a pretty low risk entry in the stock. So this is definitely one into today's session
What's going
that
to
I'm
be
really watching.
what's going to be a trigger for you when you have something on the watch list? What are you looking for to be compelling for you to re-enter?
Yeah, for this particular setup, all that I'm looking for, I think the setup is pretty much primed right here, is
Yeah.
really just an open above Friday's close or Thursday's close.
Okay. That could
Yeah, because
happen
with
today.
exactly. Yeah, because
Yeah.
if you look at this if you look at this setup, we can actually define it right here with one of the indicators on my chart. So if you
Yeah.
were to enter the stock right above the prior close at, let's say, 93.92, looks like
Yeah.
it's going to gap up to around 93.50. But you can set a stop about 5% away, and that's going to be below all of these consolidation candles. And then your R2 would be around $103.31. So
That's
for
what a
me,
lot of
that's a
people
really
are
good
looking
reward
for.
to risk trade.
Yeah. Okay. What else are you looking at? I mean, the market's at new all-time highs, so I'm sure you were long a bunch of stuff besides Uber over uh, the
Yeah,
last
let's
three
take a
months
look.
since we've talked.
Yeah, if you take a look, the S&P 500 trading up to new highs at
Yeah.
this particular moment, in this particular point in time, I do think that the S&P 500 is pretty extended. And the one indication that I have of that on my chart is I always track the distance from the 50-day simple moving average, which is my blue line on my chart.
Yeah.
And I track the ATR extensions away from that 50-day simple moving average. Right now on this MAX, which is where I track it, we're at a 6.3 extension. And that pretty much just means compared to the historical range, we are pretty extended at the headline index level. So for me, I'm trying to be a little bit cautious here, just because I do believe there's that chance, especially with that big, beautiful bill having just passed, that
Yeah.
we could get some sort of a pullback in the market.
Okay.
And like we're seeing, for
Driven
example,
driven by higher interest rates or tariff news, or because rates kind of turned a little bit last week
yeah,
back
and
to the
they're
upside.
yeah, and they're still turning. So if we
Yeah.
look, yeah, let's go to the treasuries. Yeah, let's take a look here. If we go to
Because
the 10-year futures.
the consensus is lower rates are coming, and I'm thinking, could there be one more spike in rates before that happens?
Yeah, and I mean, with the big beautiful bill having just passed, that is going to blow out the deficit.
Yeah.
And so yeah, we can see that the 10-year treasury futures, they're responding in kind. And now they're falling back inside of that monthly value area.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see. They've been range bound for the last few months while things have been working their way through the system. We have another inflation report that's going to be coming out next week. If that actually ticks to the upside, which I think it's going to, then yeah, we could see all these interest rates start moving up and these treasury futures would be moving to the downside. So when you have that kind of setup, and then as we mentioned earlier, the S&P 500 is extended away from its moving averages, that's where like all it takes is like any sort of little spark, and you can get that little pullback in the market, perhaps that 20-day simple moving average. And that's where I would be interested in getting a little bit more aggressive in the market.
Okay, a little bit of a reversion to the mean. You're not looking for your 50-day to be tagged, are you?
Not really. Yeah, just looking
Okay.
for a little bit of mean reversion and potentially some of these weak hands that are buying stocks like, on Thursday, on Wednesday, when pretty much they had like 2 full months of an opportunity to buy stocks. I think these guys that are playing around up here, these are probably some of the weakest hands in the market. So I think it just makes a lot of sense that these guys would end up getting flushed out on those positions if you get some sort of retest of the 20-day simple moving average. That's kind of what I'm looking at on the macro front. And I really believe the technicals drive almost everything. And the
Yeah.
market just kind of looks for little headlines or little pieces of news that can potentially trigger those pullbacks to the key moving averages.
Okay. Um, Individual issues. What are you doing with Mag 7 stocks? Anything? They've
Yeah,
been, it's like nothing's changed, Andrew. It's the
yeah.
same leadership that we had before the tariff convulsions. I thought there would be some new leadership. It looks like Russell is trying to gain an edge. It looked like that started to happen, but we've had so many false starts with that. Where are you at? Are large cap tech still going to be the generals uh, during this whole march up to 7,000 in the S
Yeah,
and
so
P's?
so I think Nvidia is the most important stock in the market, probably Nvidia and then Microsoft.
Yeah.
And until these start turning to the downside, like if Nvidia is making new highs, you just can't be bearish on the market. That's really my stance
Hmm.
because this is sort of the ringleader AI stock. But as
Yeah.
you can see, Nvidia is pretty far away from that monthly value area. It's pretty far away from that 50-day simple moving average. So from a reward to risk standpoint, a lot of these Mag 7 stocks, they're going to start reporting earnings pretty soon. Nvidia is one of the later uh, reporters in 51 days. Well, let's see. If we look at Apple, yeah, that's coming up in about 3 weeks. So, yeah, a lot of these stocks, Google has had a lot of ups and downs. Yeah, Google to me looks the best from just a pure technical standpoint into earnings because you can see we're trading very close to that monthly value area high.
Yeah.
So you can take a good reward to risk entry in this stock. But to be honest, like I just don't see much alpha at the headline index level or within these individual names until these stocks report earnings. The one theme, and I've mentioned this theme on your show several times, is this cannabis theme. These stocks, they've been in an absolute bear market for about the last 4 years.
Yeah.
If you look at my chart, I have this annotated. We're going to have a new head of the DEA, and
Yeah.
the DEA is really the in charge of the cannabis rescheduling process. Terry Cole is going to be coming in as the DEA. He just hasn't been confirmed yet. But Terry Cole has stated that one of his first priorities when he gets confirmed is addressing cannabis rescheduling and the delay in that process. So I believe now that the big, beautiful bill is out of the way, I believe we're going to see Terry Cole get confirmed within the next month or two. And I think when that happens, we're going to enter a bull market in these cannabis stocks. So right now, MSOS is trading right above this monthly value area. The chart looks absolutely terrible if you zoom out.
Yeah.
But I believe for me, I'm always looking for asymmetry in the market. I'm not the guy who's like, oh, I'm going to buy Nvidia after it's up 300%. That's not my style at all. I believe if Terry Cole gets confirmed and there's some movement on rescheduling, I really believe that this MSOS ETF within the next year could move up 100% very easily. It's actually
Oh
done
yeah.
that several times over the past couple of years.
Yeah.
So this right now for the US Investing Championship, this is my biggest position. If it doesn't work, I'll be sure to stop out. But we have a clear catalyst that should be coming in the next month or two. So in terms of asymmetry and what I'm looking at in the market, this, as far as I can tell, is the most
So,
asymmetric opportunity.
okay, so you're getting this bounce, I think, based upon it, because I've heard the story too.
Hmm.
Could it turn out to be a buy the rumor, sell the fact once he's confirmed? But it still could, squeeze shorts. There's a lot of shorts in there, especially these. Is MSOS American producers or Canadian?
American. Yeah,
Okay.
so that's a great question, Dale. So I think if this was just rumors and nothing behind the rumors, then
Yeah.
yeah, maybe you get a little pop. And then, as it's always done, over the
But
last 4 years, there's always a little pop and then it just sells
yeah,
right back off. But I
but the
believe that there's,
rescheduling is huge for this. They can bank, they could write things off. It because I know guys that have been riding them into the dust, and that's their hope.
yeah,
And most people don't think he's going to um, change it because he was anti marijuana prior.
mhm.
So you think he's going to, even those personal views? Is there an edge for the U.S. government to be collecting revenue on these stocks? I know they already get taxes. Will it include uh, more taxes or more revenue for the U.S. government if they do this?
Absolutely more revenue for the US government. And then also driving out the cartels,
Okay.
driving out illegal product, and really just
Yeah.
cleaning up, saving money on jailing people for cannabis, which is completely
Yeah.
silly. The
Yeah.
reason why I believe this is actually going to happen is if you look at the team around Trump, Trump prior to being elected literally said, on Twitter or Truth Social, I believe there should be banking for these cannabis companies. We should leave it up to the states and it should be rescheduled. That's clearly on the record, him saying that. And then
Yeah.
if you look at who he has, it's RFK Jr.,
Right.
who has
He
clearly stated on the record that he
yeah,
is
he
pro
has
cannabis.
and he keeps a bong on his desk, doesn't he?
Probably. I wouldn't be shocked. He probably keeps a bong and some magical mushrooms on his desk as well. I wouldn't be shocked.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. So that's what I was thinking. Hey, RFK Jr., don't drink the bong water. Anyway,
Exactly.
uh, okay, that's really interesting because I've been in and out of them a few times down here because I see something technical. I actually think that the technicals are shaping up pretty good. So,
Yeah, so
um,
for context, this is kind of what I'm looking at. So over here, we had 4 years of the Biden administration. They promised they were going to do something on
right,
cannabis, and then they never did. And
Schumer
that's
dropped the
why,
ball.
yeah, and that's why for everyone that's been in these and kind of stuck in them, if you say something's going to happen, they're all like, "Oh, no way!" Like I've been believing that for years, and it's not going to happen.
Right, right.
If you
They
look at
are
where,
despondent. Right.
yes, if you're looking at where MSOS was trading prior to Trump's election, look at
Oh,
this gap lower on the chart. Let me just remove
yeah.
this moving average. This is when Trump won the presidency. And the
Wow.
reason why this has been in a, like a tailspin is because people said, you know what, the Democrats lost, Trump won.
It'll never
Nothing is
happen.
going to happen. It will never happen. So we got this capitulatory just slide down. If something does end up happening, if Terry Cole gets confirmed in the next month or two and cannabis does get rescheduled, why can't we get back to where this thing was prior to Trump being elected at
Yeah,
685? If you look
yeah,
at where it's currently trading at 242, that would be almost a triple on the
yeah,
investment. So that's
yeah,
why from these levels, I think the risk reward is just so compelling. The worst case scenario is you lose 100% of your money. This thing just goes completely defunct, which it's not going to because the biggest holding, about 30% of it, is Green Thumb. And Green Thumb is a profitable company. You can see they earned 4 cents of EPS in their last quarter. So I really just think, the chances of that are very slim. But let's say if it does, your your downside is 100% of your capital, and your upside is potentially a 100% return, 200% return, 300% return. So that's why I think it's the most compelling opportunity in the market right now.
What was that again? GTIBF?
Yeah, GTBIF. Yeah, this is
Yeah.
Green Thumb, and this is by far the most fundamentally sound company. You can see on my chart, they've had positive EPS for the
Yeah.
last, 5 quarters straight.
Very few do, like a company like Cureleaf. They
Yeah,
have
let me see.
tons of debt, right?
Yeah, a lot of these companies, they are laden with debt. So if we look at Curaleaf, I believe this might be like a 6% holding in the MSOS. Yeah, this one negative EPS, Their cash flow from operations is positive though. So yeah, really what these companies need is just some relief. If we look at TrueLeave is the second largest holding in MSOS. TrueLeave also has really good cash flow from operations. If we get that cannabis rescheduling and we get some improvement on banking, these companies will actually be able to take deductions on all their business expenses. And yeah, that should be a very positive thing. So yeah, for me, this space is bottomed out. If you look at TrueLeave, they trade at 0.56 times sales. GTBIF trades at about 1 time sales. And this is a growing industry. So that's why for me, like most people will be like, oh man, this guy is crazy talking about these stocks. The chart is going down. But for me, I'm looking for the asymmetry. As soon as the chart starts going up, that's when a lot of people will jump aboard this trend. So
okay,
that's really
so
what I'm playing for.
Forex Gal is saying many zombie companies. I'm sure there are, but that's why you have to do your due diligence, and you don't win trading championships by just throwing a dart at a company because it's in that industry. So
yeah. So if we look, I marked this up on the chart. There's this right here was a 100% spike in MSOS. This happened in September of 2023. This was a 121% spike in MSOS. And this was no reform happened here. These were just technical bounces. If some reform happens, it could be something a little different. So yeah, this is really just where I'm putting my money where my mouth is. And, this is what I'm focused on right now. And then the good thing too is if Terry Cole gets confirmed and the ETF doesn't move, the underlying stocks don't move, he doesn't do anything on reform, then you have an out on your position where, hey, the catalyst came, it went, and nothing happened. So I take my loss. Yeah.
I tell you what, Andrew, another great presentation of a contrarian idea. So anything else you want to add to what you've told us? Because I like this idea.
Yeah, I think that's about it. I mean, over the last like 2 years on your program, usually I was talking about Alibaba.
Yeah, it looks
And
ugly.
Alibaba, over here, it was kind of the same deal. This thing was trading in the 60s for so long, trading in the 70s, trading down here. And I remember being on your show just chatting about how hey, there's opportunity here. And this thing, it's nowhere near its highs right now. But even after taking a huge drawdown from the highs, a couple of years ago, this thing was in the 60s. Now it's at 107. This is no longer a big focus for me. I don't really see a lot of asymmetry. Now my focus is really, okay, let's try this cannabis trade and see what happens there.
Okay.
So we'll see.
Best way for people to follow you and stay in touch with you?
Yeah, you can go to pristinecapital.net and I put out an evening research report and you can check out the reports. And yeah, all the thoughts I have on the market and really just my preparation for the upcoming trading session.
Okay. Send me one.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll send you a copy.
Okay. Andrew O'Connell, everybody, giving you a contrarian idea that no one wants to touch, kind of like no one wants to buy the dollar. So, similar things. And, he's a champ. So my trading warrior brother, thanks for the ideas and what you're doing and your narratives and your technical reasons. Really excellent. And appreciate you coming here and edifying our community, buddy.
Thanks so much for having me on. Always a pleasure, man. Take care.
Okay, Andrew. We'll talk in the fall.
Talk soon.
After cannabis stocks triple. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right, buddy. Andrew O'Connell, everyone. Check him out at Real Pristine Capital on X and get involved with him. Track him. I think this was a great interview. There's we don't talk cannabis stocks in here. So anyway, have a great day. You could join the team in about 18 minutes. And remember, don't just count your pips, count your blessings. And see everyone for Turnaround Tuesday. Adios.